Remember, it's not the fall, it's the sudden stop.
This height be the type of shit that keep me up at night. Never short of a breath when I spit my rhymes. Clever forms I express every fucking time. Bring me back to the light when I ain't feeling right. This life, something special when I'm on my grind. Never short of the stress when I spit the mind. But of course, never rest until I fucking die. For the more I obsess and rock the fucking.
Oh yeah, we're back with Thursday Thriller and the week. What the fuck even is this? Week 7 previews of the NFL. Jaguars are on tonight. We're gonna skip that one, but hey, you know I love my John Hendo meme.
Oh, Joe, that ain't good enough. Come on, Joe. Thank you, baby. Thank you. You making blood come from my damn mouth. That's what I'm talking about, baby. You gotta make blood come to the mouth. You can't just smack me and don't hit me hard. That's bullshit. When you hit a motherfucker, you hit that motherfucker. Let's kick their ass, motherfucker. Kick their ass. Let's go.
So, I mean, I'm not going to touch on the Thursday game too much because by the time this comes out, it'll be irrelevant. But, like, very quickly, if Trevor Lawrence plays, fire up Ridley, Kirk, Ingram, Travis Etienne in no matter what. Trevor Lawrence, I'm throwing him in if he plays. Saints side, Derek Carr, Olave, Michael Thomas in, Kamara in. Pretty much, Rashid Shaheed for the pod shot too in a deeper league. Otherwise, you can pretty much ignore everything else. Boom! Thursday wrap-up done, or Thursday preview, I guess. The main slate of games, a little bit shorter this week. We got Panthers, Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Jets, and Titans are all on a bye week. So we're going to go right into Lions at Ravens. Probably the game of the week here, 5-1 at 4-2. I like all the assets basically in this game. So you're firing up Jared Goff. Go ahead, fire up Amon-Ra St. Brown every week, even against a tough defense. I would play Jahmyr Gibbs if he's active just because of how fucking bad running backs are and just how destitute it is between the bye weeks and injuries. I can't imagine there's a dearth of options available on the waiver wire. So if you are a Jahmyr Gibbs owner and he is active, now would be the time to play him, especially because Craig Reynolds is banged up. On the Ravens side of the ball, and I guess I would play Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta, just throwing that out there too. On the Ravens side, I'm actually very excited about this. The Detroit Lions have been a pretty good defense, but the Ravens are at home. They need this win. This feels like it could maybe get up into a little bit of a higher scoring territory than the Ravens have been experiencing lately. I'm hoping for, not anything crazy, but maybe they can hit 30 points. So obviously Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, that's the trifecta I'm looking at. I'm kind of fading the rest. For the running backs, you can play Gus Bus. And, if you're really in a pinch, you can play Justice Hill. I'm not really trying to entertain any of the other options on this team, though. The Raiders-Bears. This might be one of the juiciest fantasy matchups in terms of the Raiders side of the ball. I really like Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers here. This could easily be a Devontae Adams bounce-back game. I even like Michael Mayer as a deeper option. The Bears defense has been giving it up. On the Bears side, you can't start anyone. Now, I might be willing to start DJ Moore in a pinch. So again, this would have to be like I'm throwing him in my flex option because, between bye weeks and everything else, I just don't have a better option. I'm playing DJ Moore over most of the auxiliary deep running back options because he can still catch passes and beat them pretty easily that way. But I'm not playing him over any competent wide receiver options. So in shallower leagues, he's going to ride my bench. So I can kind of see how this Bilbo Badging kid can do. But for the most part, you're fading all of your Bears. I mean, even Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet might be a deep option because you would think that with the young quarterback, he's going to be focused on the shorter routes with a Cole Kmet. But I'm not actively trying to get any Bears into my lineup, even in a week this bad with this many bye weeks and this many injuries for the Bears to just be relegated to fantasy irrelevance. already kind of insane. Moving on, Browns Colts. This one again, Deshaun Watson. Like, I don't know what's going on with this guy. He's just deciding like, oh, I'm too hurt to play or something. Even though the Browns are 3-2, and the division is very much up for grabs. But it looks like it could be PJ Walker again. So on the Browns side, for the most part. And now Kareem Hunt is apparently banged up. So I'm starting Jerome Ford. I would start Jerome Ford actively in any situation where I have him. If Kareem Hunt is active and plays, I think I would be willing to start him too. But again, it would have to be over some of the deeper options. So, when Saquon was in like a Matt Breida style play, but it's pretty. I would pretty much be avoiding the Browns here. And on the Colts side, the fact that Jonathan Taylor hasn't completely taken over yet, Zach Moss still has some relevance. I think you can play both of them, though the Browns are a tougher matchup. They are on the road. They do tend to be better at home. So I actually think that you can start Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss as kind of RB2 flex options. And for the passing game, because it's going to be Minshew, there should be a little bit more volume to maintain Michael Pittman and even Josh Downs in a PPR option. So I would be willing to play both of those guys. On the next game is Bills Patriots. Honestly, the Patriots just look terrible right now. Like, they look like they're about to get knocked out.
Apoplectic. You put out an open contract. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. There's the bell.
I don't even know that the Bills are going to need Josh Allen for this one. Now, the one concern I really have on the offensive side of the ball for the Bills has been James Cook. He hasn't been cooking for fantasy. Now, he's actually been decent in real life. The problem is the splits with Latavius Murray and Damian Harris. Now, it feels like Damian Harris is trending towards being perhaps less available. We'll see how that, whether he gets relegated. But the fact that Latavius Murray is still hanging around, especially stealing goal line options, it's a struggle, I think, for James Cook. But with how bad running backs are, I would still be playing him. Stephon Diggs is in your lineup. The only question I really have here is if Josh Allen does play, I would still play Gabe Davis. However, if Josh Allen is not active, then for me it's Stephon Diggs or nobody else. I'm not trying to play Gabe Davis necessarily in that situation. And on the Patriots side of the ball, honestly, I would just be actively avoiding, again, everything I can for this game. I would be trying to play, if I'm forced to, I would play Ramondre and I would play Kendrick Bourne, and I would really I would not be wanting to play Zeke. This is not the type of game script or defense that sets up for him. Though maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Bills, feels like maybe the Bills could get beat by just getting ground on. The Patriots are at home. So maybe Ramondre and Zeke are the plays, but then that would relegate probably Kendrick Bourne to a lesser role, and he might disappear, go back into hiding. The Bourne identity, he does tend to do that. Frankly, it's, again, it would really depend on how bad my options were, but for the most part, I'm trying to avoid the Patriots. Commanders Giants. This is one where I'm actually, trying to target some players. I really love Curtis Samuel, who I picked up in a lot of leagues. I didn't play him probably when I should have, but he's got the role that Jahan Dotson truthers were hoping would be usurped by Mr. Dotson. Unfortunately, Curtis Samuel, who is a dual threat both through the air and on the ground, is, maintaining that position in the Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy offense. He works underneath, which is kind of a lot of what they're doing in terms of their pass concepts. So Curtis Samuel is someone that I'm sliding into my lineups pretty comfortably, especially in a positive matchup against the Giants. Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson, I would always also be looking to play. That's pretty standard, especially given the options. And I would even play Sam Howell here. If you're in a pinch looking for a quarterback, if you're in a super flex and he's your third option, I would be sliding him in. He rebounded nicely after that 4-interception game, had a decent fantasy game last week, and I think against the Giants defense, he could definitely do that again. With the Giants, I mean, it's Saquon's availability. Obviously, if Saquon's in, you play him. I would play Darren Waller just because of how bad tight ends are. Wan'Dale Robinson in deep league PPR options, you can consider him. And Daniel Jones, this feels like a week where he's going to do okay for fantasy. So again, if you're in a really bad situation, if you lost Anthony Richardson and your other, you have Dak or Joe Burrow on bye or whatever, you were relying on CJ Stroud in some shape or form. All of those situations, I could understand turning to Daniel Jones. It's definitely not going to be a popular option, but it might be a necessary one. The Falcons at Buccaneers could have been like an interesting matchup. Unfortunately, the Buccaneers are a little bit banged up. We'll kind of see what shape they're in. However, I would still be playing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in this game. I would even play Rachaad White just because of how bad, again, running back situations are across fantasy football. I have no idea what the quarterback situation is, whether it's Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. I actually think Kyle Trask would be a downgrade to the wide receivers and would definitely make me more nervous about that. So if I had better options, and it is in fact Kyle Trask playing, I might be willing to pivot away from Mike Evans. However, Chris Godwin definitely feels like a safer PPR floor play. So in deeper leagues, I'm probably still playing him no matter what. It's stupid how the Falcons are just operating in general. It should be Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Desmond Ridder, easy starts every week. But my God, Arthur Smith just loves to make things difficult for his team. I don't understand. I thought the whole point of being an NFL head coach was you were supposed to alleviate the pressures and scheme around your players and, help them succeed. But him and Matt Canada are competing for who's going to piss off fantasy players and their own players first and faster. So, I would still play Bijan. I would still play Drake London. I would play Kyle Pitts. I mean, I said last week, if you drafted Kyle Pitts and you've hung on to him this long, there is really no option that you're going to find on waivers for the most part better than him, unless Jonnu Smith is out there, ironically enough. So I would just keep playing Kyle Pitts. And then, we talked about Arthur Smith. Of course, now we got to talk about Matt fucking Canada and my slam dunk of the year, Najee Harris.
Do you want to see me dunk?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Are you guys ready? I'm okay. No, don't worry.
Does that always happen?
I can't believe that on a week with 6 fucking teams on a bye week, with the amount of injuries across the NFL landscape, especially to the running back position, that Najee Harris is not a running back one option on the week torments my soul. This is a Matt Canada problem. I don't know how we win this game. It's a road game against the Rams. Aaron Donald will be in full force. The offense of the Rams is built specifically to torment our poor cornerbacks with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I mean, on the Steelers side, you have to play Najee Harris by default. It sucks, but like, would you rather play Najee Harris or potentially Damian Williams for the Cardinals? Like, would you rather play Najee Harris or Jerick McKinnon of the Chiefs? Like, would you rather play Najee Harris? Like, we could play this game all day. There's options out there. Cam Akers is another one. Would you rather, because between Alexander Madison and Cam Akers, like, who they're starting to kind of split touches there. There are worse options. So, if you're asking, should I play Najee or a backup, I would play Najee. If you're asking, here's an kind of a starter, an unofficial starter, you could say Deonta Foreman for the Bears, assuming he still has the role to himself against the Raiders. I would probably lean ever so slightly with Deonta Foreman in a home game against the Raiders over Najee in a road game against the Rams. And maybe that's an overreaction on the season. Maybe coming out of the bye week, they correct it somehow. I'm not holding my breath at this point. Like Jerome Ford over Najee Harris, probably I would do that. I think the line for me is Zeke. Like I would probably play Ramondre, I think, over Najee Harris, but I would play Najee over Zeke, it feels like. Same thing with like the command. I would play Brian Robinson pretty easily over Najee, but I would play Najee over Antonio Gibson. Ugh, what a gross game to play. But for the Steelers, anyways, on a week-to-week basis at this point, it's like you can trust – you can't trust any of them, but you can play Najee for a really gross floor play, and you can play George Pickens when he's healthy, I guess. Throw Freiermuth out there as a tight end if you didn't have another option, but you probably should have pivoted at this point. So for me, I'm really focused on – George Pickens is like an actual fantasy relevant option, and then Najee Harris is like you're forced to because of how bad running backs are. And then on the flip side with the Rams, obviously Cooper Kupp, obviously Puka Nacua. I would play Matt Stafford here, even though our defense is normally pretty good. The cornerbacks can be had, and Stafford's been all right, so I would play him. And it's a home game, so bonus there. So everything kind of lines up for I would play Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. I would even throw out Higbee if I really need a tight end option. He might do nothing, but he could have also just kind of like a little floor game. And then the running back, Zach Evans, is the one that I'm targeting. I think he's the one that ends up getting the role this week. Now, they've brought back Darrell Henderson, who I think long-term will end up kind of regaining the role that he previously held. And it could be a muddled backfield of which I will want no part. But for this week specifically, I think Zach Evans would be the one to own. And if he does, slam and do well, his role could be extended further. We've kind of seen that with the Rams before. But I feel like for this week, I'm kind of rolling with Zach Evans. But again, I'm not thrilled about it. It's not like I'm trying to start him with confidence here. It's just with running backs being what they are. Cardinals, Seahawks. Finally, a running back we can talk about. Kenneth Walker. I would be happy to start Kenneth Walker. I would start DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith. Probably, they've got like a weird three-headed tight end rotation going on, so probably just avoiding that. I think you could flex Zach Charbonnet. He's been largely irrelevant. So is JSN. I would throw both of them in the flex. It would have to be, for JSN specifically, it would have to be in deeper leagues. With Charbonnet, it's more like, if all your running backs are on a bye week and you're picking between, several backups of who could potentially, who could I see, getting out ahead and leaning on the run game is the Seahawks over the Cardinals in this game specifically. I could see this turning into a big Kenneth Walker / Zach Charbonnet game where they just lean on the run. So I would be probably wanting to start Ken Walker as like my RB1, flex Charbonnet, and then comfortably still I would probably take the chance on DK and Tyler Lockett, hoping that they are part of the initial blowout. On the Cardinals side, I'm just I would play Hollywood Brown and probably nobody else. It's not going to be Kyler Murray. It's still going to be Josh Dobbs, even though they've activated Kyler Murray, which I still don't understand why they would want to play him. If to me, it's like the only reason to play Kyler would be to audition him for trade. But I mean, they need to tank for Caleb Williams at this point. I just don't understand. I mean, unless their idea is that they're gonna possibly tank and trade or somehow get Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with Kyler Williams, and their whole plan is to keep Kyler. But I don't know that the Cardinals are going to do that. Yes, Kyler is a more elite talent than Josh Rosen when they made this move in the past. But that's literally how they got Kyler, was they moved off of first-round pick, a very highly drafted quarterback, and they went with Kyler Murray. And I could see them doing the same thing if they could somehow get Caleb Williams. But maybe it's the potential of not being able to get Caleb Williams that makes them realize, okay, well, maybe we need to prepare ourselves for a future where we just keep Kyler Murray. But yeah, getting all away from this game, honestly, I mean, the tight ends, Zach Ertz and Trey McBride, are kind of splitting work, which kind of makes neither of them valuable. And so for me, it's Hollywood Brown and basically nobody else. And I could be wrong, but it's like, again, I have a 16-team dynasty league where I picked up Damian Williams because he ended up being the running back for the Cardinals to get the most work. And I still, I'm not looking to start him in any capacity. I would rather start Josh Reynolds over him. Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos. Man, the Broncos have been fucking atrocious. The Packers, I mentioned on Monday Mayhem, have a really nice upcoming schedule lined up. They're actively in trade targets for me. I've been trying to get more shares even of Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs specifically. Even Aaron Jones working his way back from injury definitely could still be a buy low candidate. The Packers, like I mentioned, their upcoming schedule for the next 4 games is going to ease up a little bit. They're coming out of the bye week too, so they should be a little bit more fresh. This game lines up well against the Broncos defense, which has been butt ass ugly. So I would comfortably, it could backfire. It could totally backfire. We've seen it happen in other Broncos games, but I would be starting Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. If he plays and is active, I would play Aaron Jones, and I would even play A.J. Dillon here because the Broncos' run defense specifically has been pretty bad. On the Broncos side, I think you still start Russ and Cortland Sutton. I mean, Russ is kind of like getting it done for the most part, by being the sum greater than the sum of his parts, in the sense of you do still have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and a couple other cats making plays here and there. The problem really is the running backs. Javonte Williams just isn't all the way back. As again, incredible of a story it is to see him on the field at all, he is not fantasy relevant, with his touches being limited the way they are, not really being used much in the goal line. So I would be looking to just stay away. I would play Cortland Sutton as a floor play. Jairi Alexander is an excellent cornerback. Feels like he could see more of Jerry Jeudy, though. So I could see Cortland Sutton being more of a target in this game. We'll kind of see how that shakes out, but The Broncos, I mean, the Packers defense is pretty good. The Broncos offense has been somewhat declining. I actually probably would be looking to pivot away from Russ actually in this game now that I'm thinking about it and like talking it out loud. There, he gets in these negative game scripts, and so he ends up being kind of okay for fantasy, but this one feels like it could get away from the Broncos, but maybe I'm wrong. Chargers, Chiefs. This one probably, could be a really fun one. And I think the Chargers season very much hinges on this game. The fact that it's going to be an Arrowhead is a little bit disappointing, only in the sense that for the kind of fireworks that I would be hoping for, I would hope that the Chargers would be at home. Arrowhead is definitely a harder arena to play in. It's extremely loud. The Kansas City Chiefs have kind of relied on their defense this year, which is odd. They've been a very kind of sound defensive-minded running team, if you really think about it, leaning on Pacheco and the run. Obviously, Mahomes still able to do what he needs to do, to advance first downs, get it to Travis Kelce, get a couple touchdowns here and there, but he's not lighting the world on fire the way he has in past seasons. He's just very much doing what they need to do to get wins, which is, in a sense, it's kind of funny, but he's being a game manager in the best sense of the word. So, I mean, for the Chiefs, you start Mahomes, Kelce, and I'm very comfortable at this point starting Pacheco week in, week out. Rashee Rice as a pot shot, but I'm not comfortable really with any of the wide receivers from a consistency basis. And on the Chargers side, it's Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert. Again, pot shot with Gerald Everett. But, Joshua Palmer hasn't shown any kind of consistency. Neither has Quentin Johnston. So I'm not relying on them or even trying to start them really over auxiliary options from other teams that have proven to be more reliable. Dolphins, Eagles. So this is the actual game of the week, 5-1 versus 5-1. Two high-powered offenses, two defenses also that can give it up. This could really turn into I think this could turn into the high-scoring fantasy matchup that everyone's hoping for. So obviously Tyreek and Tua are in your lineup every week. This is definitely a game where I'm trying to slide in Jalen Waddle for sure, Raheem Mostert. Even though the Eagles' run defense has been exceptional, I'm playing him. I would even play Salvin Ahmed in the flex. He's kind of taken over the Devon Achane role. Obviously, he's a lighter version. And when I say lighter, I don't mean physically. I just mean in terms of talent and speed. He is the Wish version of Devon Achane. But he does have talent, and he fits that scat back role. So I think I would play him in the flex. And then on the Eagle side, Devonta Smith is banged up. So for me, I'm going to cut it to A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Swift, and Jalen Hurts. And then finally, we're going to wrap this up. Short episode this week. 49ers, Vikings. This one, I'm staying away from the Vikings. Like, seriously, Kirk Cousins in primetime historically has not been good. The last couple games for Kirk Cousins has been a struggle to watch. The Vikings offense has not come together, I think, the way that many expected. Obviously, the Justin Jefferson injury is an extreme, detriment to this team, to this offense, to the culture of the Vikings, honestly. Without Justin Jefferson, he's very much like a domino piece for this team. Infamously, Dave Damashek would talk about domino pieces where if you remove this one player, kind of the whole team falls apart. Justin Jefferson is that for the Minnesota Vikings where, Jordan Addison's going to have to step up and have a massive game. So it's like Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne are suddenly your 1 and 2. TJ Hawkinson, it's like, I I'm struggling to see it against the 49ers defense, especially with, the players that I just mentioned. Hawkinson, especially, they're wanting to keep everything in front of them. The Niners are going to let them. Like, they're going to let them have those, little gross, 3-yard completions, but they're going to tackle well. They're going to get after the quarterback. Man, this is setting up as a bad one for the Vikings, to be perfectly honest. So if I can get out of playing any Vikings player, I would. Even if I'm wrong, this is one of those times where it's kind of process over results. It's everything is screaming that the Vikings are setting up for a slaughter here. Again, the primetime matchup, the fact that it's the Niners coming off a loss, the fact that you don't have Justin Jefferson, the fact that the running game is relying on Alex Madison and Cam Akers. Everything about this team is screaming giant red flags right now. So, yeah, I mean, I would maybe play Jordan Addison because you're kind of forced in certain situations. I get it, but I would be looking to pivot away from all Vikings. And then on the 49ers side, you play whoever is available in a standard way. I like Brock Purdy for a rebound. In terms of the running backs, now, I think that I would play Jordan Mason because we've seen him getting work. Even if Elijah Mitchell were to pop up and start, I do think that Jordan Mason would still be relevant. So I would be willing to play him. And then for the wide receivers, obviously, if Debo does play, you play him. And then Ayuk is in basically every week at this point. So, and then I would play Kittle, even though Kittle is very frustrating with how he's pulled these disappearing acts, which I get it. That's been his modus operandi his entire career. But normally, those are alleviated a little bit when there's been game scripts where Debo's gone out or CMC's gone out, or especially when both have gone out. And last week we saw both of them go out with injury, and still, George Kittle didn't really show up in the stat sheets. So it's really been the one crazy big week, one kind of midweek, and that's pretty much it. And speaking of pretty much it, I'm going to wrap this show early. It's been a really long week for me. I want to come in and make sure that I did all the matchups at least, get us ready for the week. But please go check out Monday Mayhem, especially the whole back half of that episode. Basically, I spent time really looking at the schedule over the next 4 weeks and some teams specifically that I wanted to be trading away assets, or specific players that I was looking at trading away versus players that I was looking to acquire, kind of little strategies that I was looking at. Basically, if you're 1-5, 2-4, this is definitely not the time to give up. This is actually the time to double down and, keep grinding through, because there's a lot of teams that are going to give up. There's a lot of teams with worse situations. I have a team that's 2-4, for example, and yet I looked across at my opponent this week, and they literally have 6 players on bye weeks. And I'm not shitting. That is 100% the entire top half of their roster is basically bye week. So it's I don't know what they're going to do. Probably they're just going to have to eat the L this week, and that will push me to 3-4. And then all of a sudden I get another win next week. Now I'm 4. And again, you just keep scraping out those wins, keep fighting in those leagues. So, I always quote fucking Galaxy Quest, never give up, never surrender. And that's it for me. Catch you all on the flip side. Oh, one more thing, actually. Make sure that you subscribe. I will be going live again for the Sunday Live, answer some questions, some start-sit questions. Fucking ask me anything questions. Whatever you're looking for, I got you on Sunday morning. We're going to be doing the early one again. I don't even know if there's a London game, honestly. I just like the early schedule. So I'll probably be going live at 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you're up early, come join me. And now, officially, I will catch you all on the flip side.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man. Here comes